I feel like I talked to you more there than I did when I was at home. We didn't really call while I was here because I'm 15 minutes away, so I'll just see you when I see you.
Strangest thing. Finding new friends, was that a challenge? Is that still something that you're working on?
I didn't want to make it a big deal that when I'm there, I need to find a circle. I need people to be with, so I don't feel alone as fast as possible. Because I wanted to be very, very thoughtful of the decisions and the people I'm around. And so when I got there, knowing that I'd find alone, I could take my time, and I took my time. Like, I love just learning. Was something that I really loved last semester was learning and trying to really retain it so I can come back and explain everything as best as I can.
Yes.
I try not being that person where it's like, oh, I'm so politically correct. I agree with everything they're saying because obviously it must be right. I wanted to really understand it so I could really change my way of thinking, not just, oh, I agree in class because I would never think I'm a good person, but I actually,
student.
I understand it and it makes sense.
Welcome everyone to the Teevee Show Podcast. My name is Teevee, and this is
Anastacia.
This is a rock star right here. This is my baby girl. For many of you devoted fans, all of you, all 157 of you, I don't know, I'm making that up, bro. You actually have met her. She was on the podcast in the summer of last year, right before she was going to college.
Hey, we're sexed. It's like forever ago.
What happened last year during that podcast?
You didn't record.
I didn't record. And now I have 3 cameras.
Making a
record. We're recording, and I'm excited to have her back. She's home for the summer, visiting, because, you know, she lives in Indiana these days. How is Indiana? What's it like for you up there? Notre Dame. Not at Notre Dame, but...
The weather's amazing.
Just you like it?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I didn't really get that.
Whenever I got there, it was still summer, but it was 70 degrees every day.
But winter?
Yeah, it was nice. Well, I didn't leave campus, and they really shelter us there. They plow the sidewalk, so it was snowy and icy, but I never really experienced the harshness because I didn't go out. So,
any crazy incidents, any stories of falling and slipping and sliding as you're adjusting to winter weather up north?
They forgot to salt the sidewalks, and it wasn't snowing, but in the middle of classes, it randomly started sprinkling, and it was freezing temperatures. So while you're all in classes, all the sidewalks froze over, and everyone was slipping back to their dorms, and it was pretty bad. There was snow on the sidewalk, so people just like, you know what? I'll get my shoes wet and my feet cold, and they're walking in the snow around the sidewalk.
Yeah. That makes sense. Okay. Well, good. I'm glad that you haven't had an unfortunate incident. I've had some of those in my days here in Texas when it has frozen, where I've actually busted my ass, and it's
not one. I'm so very happy. Everyone was saying like it's gonna happen once. It didn't. I was very careful and got so scared.
At any rate, how was your freshman year? How would you describe it? Settling in and then moving real. I
don't know how to describe it, but it definitely exceeded my expectations of me because I wasn't sure how well I would do. Everyone always says like, oh, college is so different compared to high school. You really have to study. A lot of you don't know how to study. So when you get there, it's going to be hard. And I didn't study a lot of high school. I'm just able to skate by. That was simple enough. So when I got there, I was really nervous. And my mind set up and my bad habits going to set me up for failure. But I don't know. It wasn't too much of a challenge. I just knew what was important. I knew I wanted to get my work done and do well. And so I just did it. And I enjoyed it. I mean, I like my classes. I love my teachers. So it felt very worth it.
What was the most challenging thing for you settling in?
Settling in?
Yeah. As you were first month or two, do you remember what was like, this thing? Like anything?
I really don't think so. Like, it was a really good first year.
Wow. Really? That much so?
Yeah. I mean, I've always, you always telling the stories of how I'm happy alone. And it used to worry you.
It did.
But I was there and I was alone doing a lot of work. And then I went out every now and then and made some friends. But like, that solitude wasn't a bad thing. Getting started. Like, I didn't feel that homesick because I had no one. I enjoyed myself. I liked myself.
That is true. So when she was little, it was actually a real concern of mine because she was raised with her older sister, a couple years older, and they would play and do things. But inevitably, I would find Anastacia, like in the backyard, for example. Anna, they would play in here, and then Anna would wander over to the corner, and I'd be like, "Is she okay? Did she get in trouble? Did you argue with your sister? What's going on?" And the more I paid attention to it, you were just having a good old time. You could be playing in the grass. You could just be, I don't know, playing imagination. I don't know what you were doing per se, but you never seemed sad. So that gave me hope as you went off to college that would also play itself out. So I'm glad, and I know that, but it's super happy to hear that is absolutely how it played out for you. All right, so the very next question, follow-up question would be, I encouraged you to actually go out of state. And I know it was recommended by some friends to stay in state, but I really, really wanted you to push yourself to go out of state, to create new friendships and to learn something new and just a whole new environment. It's the same country, but it's basically a whole other country. And that's something I've learned by just traveling. Like every pocket of the state has different cultures. What was that like for you, given that you had to basically move away and you had no friends up there, no social circle that was already established?
Well, a lot of times when I was there, like we'd all introduce ourselves. And while it's a private college, a lot of them came from nearby. Like the furthest out, like for normal people, was like Chicago, which is just a few hours.
That's
away.
not very far. Well,
It's a few hours away. It's like me going to Austin or something.
Right.
Which is a drive, but it's different. So every time I got there and I'd say like, "Oh, I'm from Dallas, Texas," they're always like, "Oh, what's the biggest culture shock or whatever?" So and I always had a tough time. Because even whenever like I'm driving there or I'm flying back, I'm like, oh, I miss my family. Once I'm there, I'm there and I'm not thinking about much else. I think I'm a very out of sight, out of mind person. So I didn't do a lot of comparing back home. So whenever they would ask me, I'd have such a difficult time answering it. I want to give them a great answer at that. So, I would default to like, oh, I'm very self-conscious of how much I sing y'all. Because it is very natural for us. And it's not till I'm there that it kind of sounds a little country.
Yeah, because you're one of few, right?
Yeah.
That are actually there from South.
Yeah. But other than that, I don't know. Some of them, like once in certain classes, for some reason, like there's more people that were from all across.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I didn't do a lot of comparing back home. I was always just there.
You were there. And I know you've already said today.
I wish it was something more because I want to give better answers to
me
stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Well, I mean, for me, I was just going to school where they didn't.
Yeah. Okay. Because I know for a lot of people, it tends to be a thing. You want to stay with the group of people that you graduated with, and it's more comfort. And I wanted you to be uncomfortable, and I felt like it was going to help you grow. And to hear that is actually was comfortable for you, that it wasn't too uncomfortable, and that you were able to, I don't want to say coast, but live through it without feeling homesick is obviously makes me happy. I do feel like if you were homesick a little, I feel better about myself. If she missed her pops a little more, but
I think I didn't miss too much because we had something. We had calls on the calendar to catch up with each other. I would call back frequently, or these people would call me, and I would like my family, and I would answer. And while I'm home, I feel like I talked to you more there than I did when I was at home. We didn't really call while I was here because I'm 15 minutes away, so I'll just see you when I see you.
Strangest thing.
But when I'm gone, since I'm so far away now, it's on the calendar. Let's call every Thursday, 7 p.m.
Yes.
Call you on the dot. I'll wait for the seconds to turn.
Yes.
And then we talk forever. When it's two hours, we have to cut each other off. We're like, okay, we
gotta go. I gotta get back to life.
So I'm talking to my family more.
Oh.
While I'm far away and it's only limited to a phone, I'm getting my fix still. So I feel it. I still feel that love and that connection. And now that I'm back, even though I'm visiting everyone, it's so special because like, oh, you're gonna leave again. I'm gonna miss you. So let's really make sure we catch up. Let's make sure we get everything scheduled.
Would you say that the scarcity is actually what plays into it? That's something I always talk about. Scarcity becomes a benefit, something that adds value to it. I'll tell a story. I never had trouble getting the girls when we go anywhere to a party, like a cousin has a party or somebody else has a party. I never had trouble wrangling them up and getting them ready to go. You know where we go with this. Somewhere along the line, I figured out this little trick where when I'm ready to go, I start announcing 5 minutes. And at the 5-minute mark, they're like, oh, crap. So they start running around trying to have fun, right?
Let's do one more game. Our cousins we were playing the Wii. And okay, you do one more game, you play, then you play. Or maybe at the end of it, we're all kind of scattering. People have gone to their rooms and we're all kind of chilling, but not 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
We all jump up and find anything we can do.
It's become a joke amongst the cousins. But I would do that, and then I would do 4 minutes and do a countdown. And the idea behind it would be to set an expectation.
It was never 5 minutes.
It was never 5 minutes. From 5 minutes to 4 minutes, it could have been 5 minutes in between there. But it was a countdown of sorts for their little brains to like, okay, I know that after 5 is 4, after 4 is so forth and so on. So at 3 minutes, it literally might have been 30 minutes later. But the cutest thing is that when it was at 1 minute, you see them scampering around, trying to get as much love, like fun as possible. Fun. And I can't help but feel like that's exactly what happens because of that. It's like, okay, you're not here often, so I need to hug on you, love on you, do everything I can, spend time with you, have conversations that I regularly wouldn't have. Okay, I love that. It's unfortunate that we don't, or that we do kind of take people for granted when they're around all the time. You're 15 minutes away. Why is that a problem? And now we're down to the last hours. Yeah, right. We're down to the last couple of weeks of summer, and I'm like, oh no, I want a podcast. I haven't seen you. You need to come over. She's spending the night. You need to hang out. Let's go to the movies. Let's do something because we're running out of time. So I guess that's exactly what's playing itself out there, right? So how was finding new friends? Was that a challenge? Is that still something that you're working on? Because that was something I was concerned with. Obviously, you're leaving. You have no friends. All right, kid, go find friends. Go be friendly. Go be social. What did you do to start to find a new social circle? Or how was that?
When I got there, I kind of took, I don't know, because it's a different approach.
Okay.
I didn't want to make it a big deal that when I'm there, I need to find a circle. I need people to be with so I don't feel alone as fast as possible. Because I wanted to be very, very, thoughtful of the decisions and the people I'm around. And so when I got there, knowing that I'd find alone, I could take my time. And I took my time. I did. I found some friends to begin with, but I made sure not to get, to leech on. I mean, you hear in relationships like love bombing, but friendship-wise, you're just attached at the hip the whole time. And then you later on, you realize, oh, okay, maybe I don't like this person as much. But now we're like, we got a dorm together next semester or next year, and now because I went in so hard.
Yeah.
Luckily, I did have a single dorm. Very grateful for that because it gave me the solitude of being able to take a break. Because sometimes I did get overwhelmed. But it's a lot. It's a small school, but everything is new. Anyways, so I didn't go in needing something ASAP. So I let it happen naturally. I met some people. Those friendships didn't work out. I just let it fizzle out. But through them, I met someone else. It's fine
because don't say her last name because then whoa, it's not a paid sponsorship for Natalie.
And from there, I was just talking to the first friend that I made, and that's how I met her. And I was talking about flying back to Dallas, and she's from Houston. She goes, and then we're leaving the dining hall. We lived in the same dorm, and she just, so you're flying back? What flight do you have? Because I have a layover in Dallas. And then we found out we're on the same flight, a few rows from each other. And then from there, we took an Uber together. So at the airport, we talked. I let those happen naturally. And now I rocked with her for a while. I'm by myself or with her. And she introduced me to someone else because the second semester, so we're already 6 months in. And then the second semester, she introduced me to one of her friends. We had a class together. So during lunch, after we would go. And I'm not very big on scheduling meals. I'm really bad at that. I think
at eating.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm hungry, I'll just eat. But I would never go. Okay, I'm gonna go after class. I'm gonna go at this time or whatever. Mm-hmm. If I had time, I would go. If not, I'd grab a snack or wait for dinner.
You're notorious for not eating till it's too late. Oh my God, I haven't eaten.
Yeah, and the dining hall's closed, and I have to DoorDash.
Wow.
Anyways, but with her, then I was like, you know what? I like this person. I like her a lot. Now that I've tested the waters, I let it be. I'm gonna hold on to her. Yeah. So I noticed that after class, we would always go to lunch. So I made sure to always okay, I'm gonna be hungry.
That's good.
And then that's where I met one of her friends, and we became a thing. Every Thursday after class, we would go to lunch together.
So they made sure you ate.
That too.
They didn't know that, but they made sure that you ate at the top.
At least on Thursday.
Yes.
And that was great.
Are you tired of burning through your marketing budget faster than you can say ROI? Posting on social media, crickets. Running ads, more crickets. Watching your marketing strategy flop like a fish out of water while you quietly sob into your coffee. Fear not, this episode of the Teevee Show Podcast is brought to you by, me. Teevee the Marketer, founder of Rockstar.Marketing. Here to stop the madness. We take your marketing dollars and actually make them do something, like work. Want video content and ads that'll stop your audience from scrolling faster than they stop for a baby panda video? Yeah, we do that. So, if you're done setting your marketing dollars on fire, visit www.rockstar.marketing and let's turn those crickets into cash.
And all of us, we didn't have a class for another 2 hours after, so we would spend a lot of time just talking, just the three of us. And now I love her. So I have two of them I'm just holding on to. And then, so I have those two. I'm very confident in those two. I just let it happen. I didn't get too attached. I waited for the right personality traits to pop up, the right signals to be like, okay, that's it. Now, pick me. Now I'm gonna hold up.
You're right.
And then I have some pending friendships.
You did say that earlier.
I started gaining momentum at the very end, and then we went to summer break. But out of them, those are all hold. We have classes next semester, and I'm very looking forward to nourishing wellness because they're in my major. I'm going to see them a lot. And they seem like really cool people from the bit that I've seen. Mm-hmm. And I'm very excited for that. So friendships, just let them happen.
Organically.
Yeah.
That's basically what you're saying. Just don't force anything.
Like they say with relationships, don't rush into them.
Right.
I mean, I take my friendships very seriously. So it's circle.
Yes, because it's like they say, you shouldn't force anything. It's just like a fart. If you force it, it may, just don't force it.
Yeah.
Just let it organically materialize. And that's a good approach. I'm happy that you did that. It's something that I was keeping tabs on because as a dad, I'm like, who are you hanging with? Where are you at? I'm just working away. I'm like, and she did. We did have scheduled meetings, daughter, daddy, catch up meetings on Thursdays. And we continued them during the summer. Because she's still a very busy young lady. You know, she's got a job. She's in sales. She's selling her ass off. Yeah, right. And it's something that it was clear to me that if I didn't schedule time with her, I wasn't going to get it. So, because she's busy. She gets thrown into her books and her studies and her friendships and her work. You take work seriously, kid. And I actually admire that about you. Next question. Next topic. How, as the year went on, I noticed a pattern in your passions.
Oh, you know what we're talking about?
Yes, it's like I see what's happening here. That we would have not the same conversation, but conversations about the same topics. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, I think our passions are rising and bubbling to the top. Share with us what do you feel are those passions and those subjects that you do find yourself like just enamored with and like determined to figure out and learn more about.
Okay. So the very end of the second half of the year is where this came from. I took my first coding class. I learned Python, and every time we'd come, we'd always talk about something new I learned or some new assignment or little task I had to do.
Or obstacle.
Yeah. Or ideas I had. And it was just always about coding. We spent probably a good hour of me just showing him my code, explaining line by line, running it over and over because I'm also excited just to watch it run and get it and show it to you and explain it to you. Like, I loved explaining it to you because then I could remember what it was like trying to write it and come up with the ideas. And I love that part. It's like tickles my brain.
In a manner of speaking, you were teaching me.
Yeah.
And I felt it. I was like, and the principle that I love to talk about is like when one teaches to learn. I felt like you were teaching me and trying to share what you were learning and trying to regurgitate
you're not in the class. So within a few months, there's so much jargon that I can't use when explaining it to you. So whenever I'm trying to, I have to really understand it and find a way to explain it. And I feel like I got to understand some of the systems or some of the whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. And I do know just enough code and just the actual.
A little carried away.
Yeah. And I'm like, whoa. And she's like down this rabbit hole. But I'm keeping up on some level enough to say, oh, I see what you did there. And I see the sense, because a lot of it is figuring out a problem. You have a problem and you want a solution and you're trying to figure out how to get there.
It's something she gave us. Our very first project, it wasn't even coding. It was just, here's a problem. How would you attack it?
Yes.
And she was saying when she was getting one of her degrees by teacher, her professor would tell her there's no one right answer.
Yeah.
Just there's a quicker solution. There could be tens and hundreds, but there's not a right one. The best one is just how to get there faster and more organized, and
more elegant,
clarity. And so, where was I going with this? I don't know. What?
You were just telling me how, I guess one of the lessons you were talking about, one of the first lessons wasn't even a computer science problem. It was a problem solving. Yes. How would you attack this?
What were you saying before?
Well, I was just telling you that you were sharing different concepts and trying to.
But going over, I don't know. But going over just reminded, like, I'd find, that was my one solution. But going over to like, oh, maybe I could do this or I could do this. And one of my favorite things is I would come up with all these ideas, and every time I would think back, it's like, oh, it's possible. I just had to write it. And I loved that. Like, there's just so many ways I can go about it. And I had so much fun just sitting there and brainstorming it. I've never been a person who like writes a rough draft and then goes through and edits and revise it, or like brainstorms. That's one thing. Like, but they tried really pushing that in elementary school, making brainstorms and whatever. I was never doing that. But when it was this, I had so much fun getting out a piece of paper and pencil before writing it and like figuring out my map. Okay, here's where I need to get here. Here's where I need to go. How do I get there? Okay, what do I need to get there? And there. And then working back. I love it.
Why would you say you love it? What does it feed? What does it trigger exactly?
That it just problem solving. Like I had a problem. It's like I figured it out. And that feeling of I'm learning. Oh, sorry, I keep touching this. Like whenever we started the class, she goes, you might struggle. It's basically a language. It's a brand new language we're learning. And so it's going to take some time.
Right.
And so being able to take this new language and all these new things, like I've only known this for a few months, and being able to apply it and manipulate it to however I want. And then one of my favorite things, like I had so much fun because like I want to learn more. And with the specific problem that I had an idea that we hadn't learned yet. I wasn't sure if we were ever going to learn. It's just introduction class. So I used my best friend ChatGPT, and I was hesitant to mention this in my class that I used it because everyone's scared of it. But I would use it as my teacher. I'd be like, is this possible? But don't give me the answer. And it's like, yes, it's possible. Here's the function. Like, here's the thing you need to use it. I learned how to use errors and whatnot, which I need to like when I.
What is that? What is that? Real quick.
Whenever you're running code, if there's some sort of error that pops up, as it looks like a typo, you use something that wasn't supposed to be used in a certain. So if you're talking about integers, but you're using text, an error could pop up and whatnot. But you can use those. There's a way to write code where if that error happens, then do this, and it won't just because when an error happens, it stops your code.
Yeah.
But there's a way you can use it where it progresses your code.
Right.
So I didn't know that, and that's what I was wanting. And so it's like, it's called a type error or whatever. And then I was like, how do you use it? Give me an example. And it showed me it, and it would explain it to me. And I could ask it so many times, can you dumb it down? Can you dumb it down?
Okay, dumb.
And then I can use it, and then I went back and I showed my teacher. And then when she called, you're asking like why, and I love it so much. It's just that satisfaction. That's why I've always loved math. Of being able to solve it, sitting there working out all the math, and then looking back at the piece of paper. I started here. Here's all my work, all my brain power, and I got the right answer. I love that feeling. So I was able to do that. And then when my teacher says my code looks professional and what's the word I told you?
Elegance. That's my word, and that would be hers.
Elegant.
Because people can code, and I've seen code. I've written code. And when I was taught code, it was like, no, if you want to make it legible for another person to read or for you to refer back to, like, I see what happened here.
I know what I was going to say.
But that's your code is elegant. I've seen it. You've shared it. I'm like, what is pretty?
And I love it. Like, there's so many times where I just stare at it. I'll take a picture of the screen because I want to remember it.
Yeah, she's my kid. What did you remember? Go on, if you wanted to go back to that.
And on certain assignments, I wasn't sure how far she wanted us to go. Like, one of them was analyzing a presidential speech.
Oh, that's right.
We're running a code to recognize words and pieces of a word and what had the frequency and the place it happened. And it was only worth like 10 points. It was like, so surely this shouldn't be that much, but I wanted to do so much. I want to do as much as I can.
Would you say your curiosity was really driving you there?
It really was. Yeah. I wrote code and then I was like, oh, there's a better way to do it. Oh, there's a better way to do it. Oh, I can use those pieces to do over here. And by the end of it, I had so much.
So we only have a weekly call schedule. But during that entire problem, I would get calls from her almost every single day with her sharing updates. Yeah, it's like, oh, wait, I just figured something out. And you were gone. I was like, okay.
That's the other thing. Something I'm really proud of is whenever I run into a problem. Oh, I got the problem wrong. The math. Well, I love going back in the math and figuring out where I went wrong, redoing it, and then correcting myself. And so in the code, when something wouldn't work, I loved, even though like sometimes I get really frustrated, I loved sitting there figuring out where is it going wrong, breaking it down, and just because then I'm really analyzing it. I'm really making sure I understand what I'm writing and how it's working. And it helped by the end of it all. The code was, the stuff we did in class felt easier because I was taking it further. And
it is. It's exactly that. The reason I really love code and coding is it really forces you to think through a problem and try to figure out how to simplify it and find a solution, how to break it down into components, like what is the real problem and what is the desired outcome. And then going through and actually breaking it down, what needs to happen, what information do I need, what ingredients in the dish do I need, right? And I can't, for me, yes, exactly. It's chemistry, essentially, but with like exact numbers. But I find that to be true in communication. Like if you almost always...
I feel like we're talking.
Yes. I don't know if we did or didn't. Okay. We're geeking out. But if you're talking to someone and you want them to do something and they don't get it done, and they're actually a good person and a good employee or just a good person that wants to follow through, then chances are you didn't communicate it well. So you have to like break down, what did I say? How did I say it? Was I clear? Like it's literally
another way to say it.
Yes.
Several times until they get it. Keep changing it.
Yes. And you have to run it even. Like when in human behavior, you can't run it. And unless they will do it. But now it's like they messed up and now you have an error right there in front of you. But in coding is like, well, you look at it and you go back and you unpack it and see where the error happened and recode it or format it or whatever. You can run it again. But with a human, you might get really upset. There might be feelings that are hurt.
A lot of time.
So I find human communication to be that way. It's something that I'm just fascinated with. But that's why I love code, because it really forces you. Like, because the machine is going to do exactly what you tell it. It's like, no, it's impossible.
I've run into.
It's like, no, it's impossible. Everything's perfect. Nope, it isn't. I can tell you right now. So, did you have a follow-up to that? Okay. What was the other subject that you became incredibly... That was the new thing that like revealed itself. It was the original. Yes.
It was my gender and women's studies class, right?
Yes.
I was teaching him so much. I think like I love just learning was something that I really loved last semester was learning and trying to really retain it so I can come back and explain everything as best as I can.
Yes. Because you want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Oh, it helps.
So I really need to pay attention because if I'm going to tell you, I need to know what I'm talking about.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So with that one, it was broken into 3 different sections. So the first one was gender, the second one was sexuality, the last one was like contemporary debates. And the first one was really we had to really bend our thinking because it's talking about gender in a way that isn't traditionally talked about or something that we're trying to move towards, but it's very non-traditional. And having to like stop and think of it differently.
Something like that, yeah.
and then teaching it and explaining it to you, you're like,
whoa, that's like I've never heard that. It's actually mind bending. That's just mind blowing. Yeah.
I try not being that person where it's like, oh, I'm so politically correct. I agree with everything they're saying because obviously it must be right. I didn't want it to just be that because I'm reading it in this class. This is obviously the correct way of thinking. I wanted to really understand it so I could really change my way of thinking. Not just, oh, I agree in class because I would never think I'm a good person. But I actually, I understand it and it makes sense. I'm trying to think of something we're talking about. Oh, just how like gender and sexuality are different. And I don't know. I can't remember. It was very intense. The conversation. Because we had a big full class.
Oh, I'm gonna need you to repeat that.
And it's like the wording is ever so slightly different, and it was great because in there it felt like a very safe place to be wrong whenever, because we're trying to interpret what this scientist is saying. This author, and the teacher was also amazing. I loved her. I love all my teachers. People there have had bad teachers, and they're present in every school. But I got very lucky, and I think this semester is going to be just as good. I love my professors there, and by the end of the year, I was really close to them, and we're excited to see them again.
And third, which is the main reason you went to school, was subject
math.
Ooh.
Oh gosh, it was so hard to talk about this with you because I wanted to go all the way in and explain every last bit of it, but I had to really hold myself.
Yeah, she had to because my math, I did reach pre-calc, but it was a nightmare in high school.
Where's the fourth one? That was in the first semester. We'll go back to all my papers.
Okay. Oh, that's right. 1 second. So before we go there, I want to really touch on math before we go there because it ties into the first.
It does.
What's fast? Well, you did actually say, but talk to me specifically about math. Why is it important?
I took calculus 2, and I had kind of gotten a little taste of that when I was a senior because I took a level up of calculus. I skipped one and went straight there because the second one had all of the first one plus some more. But I was like, I'll just do the second one so that I can get as much as I can. Right. And I didn't do very well because it was crammed in at the end of the semester after we learned all the first stuff. And I had no idea what was happening. And so whenever I went into Calc 2, I at least knew what I was getting myself into. I knew what to expect, and I had some idea of it. So I felt like when I did well, I kept crediting that. And so when I went into the...
You had some level of awareness around it. It wasn't brand new information, right?
So when I went to the second semester, Calc 3, I was like, oh gosh, this is the first time I'm in a math class in a while that I have no idea what we're going to learn. And then they introduced 3D, the third dimension into mathematics, which makes things really fun.
It's no longer flat.
The first day I was told, oh, it's a really hard class. You're really going to struggle. This is my second time taking it or whatever. And it really scared me. I was like, oh gosh, is it that hard? How is it me being in a math class for, last year only a semester, but it felt like 2 years. Being in the same math for 2 years, taking me out of my flow. And if I'm throwing it out of a brand new math, how am I going to do? Which made me doing well so much fun, so gratifying. Yep. I just felt so, every time I understood it, I loved it. My favorite, we're dealing with numbers, but because it's 3D space, it's very applicable in geometry. So we're able to really visualize it as opposed to series. Okay, a series of numbers. Okay, what is its significance? But this, you can see it. And it was very physics related to physics as well. And I loved it. Oh my gosh. Just that this time I'm learning something brand new that I was very scared that I wouldn't. I shouldn't say a thing. And I'm getting it. And
I remember when you were going to third grade, you're like, Daddy, third grade's really hard. Everyone's telling me that third grade's really hard. So maybe when you get there, you could be okay. Yeah. Just know that.
And it keeps happening every semester.
Yes, it's that. The feeling is consistent. You're going to feel that way all the time. And once you get there, you're going to learn the lessons and it'll be broken down for you and you'll figure it out. And you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah. And it's great that I had great teachers.
Hey, remember earlier when I told you about Rockstar Marketing and how we could stop your marketing strategy from flopping around like a fish in the desert? Yeah, that's still true. But maybe you didn't catch that. Maybe you're thinking, oh, I'll just keep throwing money at random ads. I'm sure something will stick eventually, right? Wrong. Spoiler alert, it won't. Look, you don't want to be that business owner that keeps trying to solve their marketing woes with duct tape and wishful thinking. You need results. You need Rockstar.marketing. So if you're finally ready to stop the slow motion train wreck that is your current marketing plan, visit www.rockstar.marketing and let's make your business the rockstar it deserves to be. Otherwise, enjoy those crickets, and now back to our show.
So at one point or another, you can tell the story to fill in the details. She has a math problem that is really involved, and she figured it out. Correct me if I'm wrong, this is the way I remember it. You have this math problem, and you're like, I wonder if I can code the solution.
Okay, well, the thing is, I never got to because it's projectile motion. So just predicting a ball and where we go, the speed it is at a certain point, how long it takes to land, and all that. But it's gravity, and gravity is always the same. So, like, by the end of, we can get a whole bunch of problems but after a certain point, all of them are the same, just the numbers are changing. After a certain point, you can count however many scenarios there are, and that's it, of what you need to solve for. But they're all with the same variables and the same acceleration. It's gravity. And so I was able, I dealt with this my senior year in physics. I loved those problems because the same thing. I was able to these are very similar. I just have to know how to do it, generally, and then apply the numbers, which is also something with coding. That's something that I really liked.
The consistency?
Figuring out how to solve a problem with just the variables.
Oh, yes.
Because the whole point is you would write a function, we're writing your own function, so you want it to be applicable no matter what number you put in.
Yes.
So I was thinking of it, I was like, no matter, it's the same steps every single time. And I was very ambitious, and I tried writing code to do the steps for me because it's the same.
Yes.
And then I got to a certain point where I was like, okay, I don't know how to do that. And I hadn't yet befriended ChatGPT. So, but I want to go back to it. That'd be something cool to figure out.
You did get to a certain point where you solved it. You solved at least a portion of it.
Like the very first thing. Calculus 1 step of it.
Right. And you were like, it's one of those personal projects that you gave yourself. Like, what if?
I spent a couple days, and then instead of watching a show before bed, I was just sitting there working at it.
That's beautiful. It marries two different things. And
two things I'm loving right
Yes.
now.
And that was where it was really overwhelming. Like, dang, kid, you're really taking off. I was a proud dad. I'm like, all right, college is worth it. And I know I have this general philosophy that regardless of what happens with her college education and what she actually does with it, my thought is it's going to serve her. She may never actually do anything in the calculus space or the math, but the problem solving and that vigor that you have for it will apply across life. Whatever comes up, whatever problems come up, or jobs that need that kind of mindset will help you and serve you.
Yeah.
It's a really fun thing to watch you grow and continue to just get into.
We're geeking out every
I didn't realize it till right now, but I think by having the conversations with me, it truly helps you ingrain the information, because you're like, I didn't realize how much of a thing it was for you to I gotta understand this because I had to explain it to my dad.
I love going back and teach a little. You're getting a little college. You can graduate with me.
Yeah, a little mini masters at the end. Oh my god! I felt like I was going to ask something that just went blank. What did I feel like that?
The first semester. We're going to go back to my papers.
Oh yes, thank you. Yeah. So this is actually something that I felt incredibly proud of. I felt proud of all of them, but this one, because it ties into something that she's been doing all her life, virtually all her life, which is writing. But tell us about the writing and the papers that you had to write in your freshman year, the first semester.
So you were saying you felt like no matter what happens, college is beneficial for me. No matter where I go, it's working my brain. I got credit just where I'm going, the school, St. Mary's. It's such a strong school, so everything is very intimate with your teachers and the lessons and everything. But even the programs they have, I had to write a paper in math, which I've never done before. And I worked at it for 14 hours straight.
You slept some, didn't you?
No. I woke up early in the morning, got started, and went to bed, and so I worked.
Wow. Did you eat?
I did.
Okay. Is this a Thursday? Did you eat with your buddies?
It was a Saturday.
Damn it. Okay, but you're still alive. Jeez.
Yes.
Yeah, please eat.
But I was so in it.
Yes.
But like I was really working my brains, like how do I write a math paper? I've never done this before. And I had to attack it differently than all my normal writings. Well, something else that they do that to make sure that you can write in whatever. I had to write a math paper because that's my major. And so even though it's not required yet, I was only in first year. As I move up, I'm gonna have to start writing papers. So they wanted to make sure, let's get you started now. Let's introduce it to you. And I basically had to code the paper with the program we did.
Oh, that's right. You had to like present it.
Whenever.
Yeah.
And I basically had to code the paper.
Design it.
And that took forever. That's part of why it took me so long. I underestimated how long it would take me to learn that.
Yes.
I didn't think it'd be that. It was because I had to type in all the equations, and that took forever. But anyways, so they do that to push you and to be able. It's a different type of writing, and especially being in the math department. But they want to make sure you got a good grasp on it.
Yeah.
Something else they do
because if you understand it, you should be able to write it and speak about it, right? If you don't understand the concept, you're going to struggle like blah blah blah.
They grade the paper, and it has to be at a certain level.
Right.
Something else they do for all first years, that's specific for my major, but all first years you have to take a W course, which W stands for writing. They want everyone has to take it, and you have to submit a portfolio of papers at the end of the semester, and then a panel grades them and decides if this is college-worthy writing. And if it's not, you take it again. And you keep taking it until they decide. So
you have college-worthy writing.
So that first, I did my first semester, my college advisor was like, get it out of the way. So you don't have to worry about it. It'll be a very rigorous course. It'll be very intense. A lot of deadlines. So I took it, and when they gave us the syllabus, I had never seen that many papers due in 4 months. We wrote like 10 papers. But one of my favorite things about finishing was calling you, even if it's not our Thursday, just calling you and reading it to you.
Yeah, I'm like, whoa.
And I got my W, so it was a good course. But some of the stuff that we wrote about, the first one was about Adam and Eve. I really liked that one, and I thought it was an amazing essay. And then by the end of the course, I went back and I read it because we write like, maybe 10, maybe not 10, maybe like 7 or 8. I feel like 10 is old. I may have been 10 with all the other papers I wrote for my other classes.
That's good.
But you submit your best 3 by the end of it. And so I was looking at
for review.
Yes. And I was looking at my first ones, which when the moment I was very proud of. Like, oh no, I can't use these. No, I gotta use my last 3. I don't like
because they're.
It just kept getting better. I didn't realize until the end of it. But I wrote so many papers and calling you like the first time the Adam and Eve's paper.
That was a good one.
I really enjoyed it because, like I said, I've never been a rough draft person, a brainstorming person.
Right.
Yeah. And then
a little consciousness.
In high school, that usually works. I
guess you buy.
I guess that rough draft is what it really is, still is, but it works. Which is also like, that's why I didn't like some of those AP classes. That's what they wanted. Just your best version in 40 minutes, which I hated. Like, I need time to cook.
Yeah. So
that one, we had 2 days to write it. Well, something that upset, I love that teacher so much, but something that upset me was we had 2 timed essays and well, they don't really time, just that you have 2 days to write them. She won't release the prompt until the 2 days before. But all of them felt timed because most of them I only had a couple of days to write. Because sure, the prompt is out there, but we don't finish the content for it until 2 days before the paper is due. And so I'm not going to start writing until I have everything. So all of them were timed. But whatever. That one, though, I was like, okay, the first night, I'm going to read everything, get my rough draft out. So the second day, I can spend all day revising it. And when I went to revise it, I actually moved sentences around, moved paragraphs around, edited and add transition sentences and everything. And when I was done, I was like, I actually worked on this. Like, I divided it up. I had a plan. And I really loved that paper.
I remember. It was a really good paper.
We read Diaries of Adam and Eve or something like that by Mark Twain. And it was really long. And in high school, a lot of the time in our English class, we had readings, and I never did them. I would good notes, not good notes, what do they call it? Cliff notes.
Yes.
And I felt bad because at the end of it, I loved that teacher, and I'm sure she gave us some really good books. So that semester, we did a lot of readings. We didn't read whole books, a lot of excerpts, but they'd be lengthy portions because you need to be able to write about it. So I had to commit to myself, like, I'm going to make up for it. Okay, I'm sorry.
You're doing it. You're going to do better now.
I'm going to do better. I'm going to read them all. And that day, I read them all. It was like 200 pages. Like, I'm going to do this.
Wow.
But I loved it. By the end of it, I was like, I thought she killed me. I don't care. It was so good. And being able to write about it. I love that paper. And I wrote more. And one of them was a research while I did it. We had to do our own research, find our own sources instead of her giving us the books to read. And I liked that one a lot. It was a 6-7 page essay. It's a longer one. I wrote about Aphrodite. I don't know what else, but
she's an incredible writer. She's been writing in some capacity, like really well. Like it's something that she's been driven to do since she was 8, and she wrote her first poem, which was lettuce. Ever since then, she's improved. As you can imagine, the poem is about lettuce. But she has become an incredible writer and prolific as well. I did want to ask you to kind of follow back up on the paper you wrote for math. What were the comments? What was the feedback from the teacher?
Yeah. Okay.
Because this is a math paper. This is not a literature paper. This is not an
different criteria.
Different. Like the whole thing is different of what we're
like everything I've learned about writing has been like using metaphors and being beautifully written and all whatever. Yeah. This was very plain.
Yeah.
And it felt good. And I actually, for some of it, I tried putting in some flowery language, just like give it some personality.
Okay. I mean, it makes it more fun to read.
It's not in a textbook. So I was like, I could do something with it. So she was grading us on a junior rubric. So this is the 10th grade. I should be able to write by the time I'm a junior. She divided it into two on a soft due date. And then the final due date. So that no one rushes the paper at the end because everyone's using this new software. We're all first years. So she can give us comments for us to revise. So the last one isn't, well, this would look good. And now this is the last thing before the end of the year.
It's a smart approach.
So the first one, the comments I got back was out of 20. I got 18 and a half. On one of them, she highlighted a word. I said it wrong. I was talking about 2D and I said cute. Okay, could fix that. And then that was a point off. That was half a point off. And then I got the rest off because I didn't realize there was a page limit. There's a 5-page limit. I was at 8. And I wasn't done. Because I wasn't. I
have so much to say.
I didn't have to include my conclusion and and one more of the paragraph. I didn't have to include those yet. And I submitted it. And then she got 1.5 or whatever, however many points off. So I changed them, and I was like, oh no. And the worst part was whenever I was designing, I was like, let's make the line spaces wider because it looks better than the cramped. So as soon as I got that, I immediately got rid of that and made it as cramped as possible. So I met with her. I was like, but at some point I went back and revised it. Some of my equations were this long. I was able to shorten them and make them wider, use this space more. And I can't make it any shorter. And she helped me. And I said, everything else is good because she said like she was only grading certain criteria on that one, not the full rubric yet. She was just making sure like the actual math made sense. Mm. But I was asking, that's what the paper, that's what the direction said that the pastor was going to grade the first half. The second half was asking, is the rest of the paper good? Is that all the points I got off? Or are you going to add new criteria that you weren't looking for previously? She goes, no, you're fine. And I was like, oh, so I only got half the point off of the actual paper? Yeah. So I fixed it. And she never posted the grade. She never made a big deal about it because it was graded by the time we were out of classes. In that second half of the fix that I made, and then I threw in my conclusion, whatever last paragraph I had, I got some credits for that. So by the end of it, I actually how many points the paper actually was, but I only had that, I only had that point and a half off, which was just from the first half. That means the second half she thought was perfect. And I never realized that. Until like a couple weeks into the summer. It's like, oh, I got 100. I got 100 on it after fixing all my mistakes.
Good job.
Yeah.
Really good job.
I put a lot in that paper. Put a lot of time in that paper.
Yeah.
There was a lot of frustration because I couldn't figure out how to word stuff.
It's pretty impressive.
You know what kind of language to use? Because I was asking ChatGPT. I was like, what kind of language do they use in math papers? Like, what perspective? Am I allowed to say I? Do I say you? Do I say one would? I don't know. What is
These are valid questions. Yes. What did you end up writing it?
I think I said you.
Yep. Okay.
Or I said I. I think I made up both.
I think it makes sense. When you do something, I would do this or blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it's time to wrap it up. I definitely wanted to say one more thing, which was about the papers themselves. That you wrote in the W or whatever. Mm-hmm. What was the final overview of that entire process and what came out of it? Those papers that you were supposed to write to practice, right? Was practice, or this is like it?
This is it.
Okay, and the final results that you had to turn in to make sure that you're right at the college level schools.
Well, the feedback I got from my teacher was always really good because she would give criticism, but she would also leave comments like, "Wow, beautiful phrasing." And when she would say beautiful phrasing, I would bounce like, "Oh, I thought of that." She thought it was great.
Yeah.
But at the end of it, they graded on 4 different criteria. I don't remember what they are, but they also graded on revising. And all my papers were above a 95 whenever I did them. And I revised what she said, like some grammar mistakes I made, some punctuation mistakes. And then I submit them. And I get they grade you on a 1 to 4, 4 being the best on each category. And at the end, they sum it all.
It's so weird.
They sum it all up. And so I got a 4 in every other category. But revising, I got a 3. They said I should revise more. What?
That's very
okay. I was happy with my other 4s. So that call was over right with me.
Fantastic. Good job, kid. Proud of you. Thank you for coming on. I love you. If it's not obvious, I love my kid.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. I swear to God, I did hit record.
No, I went for college.
Oh, I thought that she meant for recording. No. The last time, if you didn't watch it, go watch it. I might put a link here below.
Go watch it. Go listen.
Go listen because somewhere as we were talking, I realized that we weren't recording, and she loses it. She's like, I was doing such a good job.
More so than now, because the camera's there, so I felt fine. Like the last one, I made sure to look at the camera when I was talking. I was doing a lot of facial expressions and trying to be good, like not picking at my face. And then it was for what?
But it sounded amazing. You have incredible speaking ability. Please plan on coming on at least once every month or 2 over recording. We can do that. We can do remote recording podcast recorders.
Okay.
So we can still have a little conversation and check in. It isn't you. No. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I appreciate you. I appreciate all of you. If you found this beneficial, if there's anything that you would like to ask, what would you like me to ask her?
Next edition.
In the next edition.
Series.
Yes. There's a multiple series. I have a series with Chris. I have a series with Fete. And I have a series with you. You know what's funny? I just thought about this, and I'll wrap it up with this. Every summer for the first 6 or 7, maybe 8 years after I divorced their mother. We divorced at summers. At the end of the summer, we would sit down and do a year-end summer recap. She's good with words, and those were always fun and cute. There's one she's like just doing this and playing with her hair the whole time, and she wanted to be a nurse, and she wanted to be a pilot,
a doctor, and a nurse,
and a pilot, and I don't know. There's so many things. To me, I guess this interview, this conversation is essentially the end of summer review, but just with one. Maybe I'll do another one with the other kid.
Okay.
Yes.
Her life updates.
Yes. She has some. We have some for you. Stay tuned for a lot more podcasts, a lot more conversations, a lot more life updates as this old man starts to grow older, become a grandfather, do other things, explore other ideas and countries and hobbies, and just share my journey in that path, and hopefully in the process help you learn a thing or two. So until next time, my name is Teevee.
Anastacia.
Thank you for tuning in to the Teevee Show Podcast. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.